soon. All right, everyone. Welcome to the ROS Aerial Work Group call of February 14, 2024. Happy to be with you again, especially in Valentine's Day. Taking over for Kim. Repeating myself because of the people that are just watching on the recording. She couldn't be here. She's not feeling well, but she'll be back with us on the next meeting. And yeah, so we got quite a few things on the agenda for today, but honestly, not a lot of substance. So I'm counting on you to help me lead this call, see what we can get done today. So what we have here on the agenda is work done and current state by subcommittees and subcommittee leads sharing state of their subcommittees. Do we have anyone on the 3D and outdoor planning on our call today? Let me see. This is the one that's being led by Ryan. So he's Ryan here. Nope. All right. Let's actually. Did everyone get the message that we are on the new meeting invite?
What message?
The one that has the new link for the meeting. All right.
Yeah,
Let me
it's
put
on the
this one.
discourse.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is in discourse. Like
Here's the-
2 hours ago,
here.
it wasn't.
Here's the link.
I think people
to
are
the-
coming slowly.
Yeah, the meeting going on right now. All right. Just in case, I sent again the link on this course. Hopefully more will join us. But all right, so the 3D outdoor planning subcommittee people are not here. What about documentation? Do we have anyone from the documentation subcommittee here? All right. Do we have anyone? Then no subcommittees. That's interesting. Okay. Let's take a quick look then at the GitHub project for the subcommittee just to make sure that I'm not missing anything. So we got 2 repos for the outdoor 3D and planning. By the way, who here knows how to get to the subcommittee stuff?
It's on the aerial robotic landscape main page.
Great. Yes, here we go. So we got ROS Aerial. Then you can look at all the repos. Here's the repo for the
Second
community.
one.
Yep. Just trying to help everyone out so that if you don't know where to find stuff, it's here. Kim does a great job at keeping this up to date. All right, so here's the link to the specific outdoor 3D planning stuff. I don't think there's a lot to report here. I'm not part of this group, but I know Ryan and Jay from Pixar team are they're leading this work group. All right, so this is something that actually I was discussing with Kim about how the subcommittees should maybe have a way to inform back to the main call. But it might be a bit too much pressure for the maintainers to have to attend all the calls and keeping everyone up to date. So we'll probably devise some sort of mechanism to try to float all the information so that everyone knows what's going on the subcommittees in a way that it's not as burdensome for the maintainers. But all right, so we don't have subcommittee stuff, so we can skip this for now. I don't see any important PRs or anything. Here we go. Create documentation landing page by Kim. All right, I'll review this later. Okay, there's been a lot of emails back and forth on subcommittees and people interested in leading subcommittees or starting subcommittees or joining subcommittees. Anyone here has any questions about subcommittees, about joining them, or maybe perhaps starting one? This is something sort of new that Kim introduced, and there's already some guidance on the repo on how to start them, on how to join one. But I want to make sure that everyone knows where to find that, and that it's clear for everyone what's going on. So no questions? So here we go, repo for subcommittees. Here's the active ones. There's a list of proposed ones. Here's what we are asking for people that are wanting to start one, how to add a new one, how to deprecate one. We're kind of acting on a fail fast approach here. So we're depending on the people that are starting or leading the subcommittees to let us know when things aren't going as well. And I don't think we want to put the pressure on keeping a subcommittee alive when there's not a lot of active maintainers or contributors. That's very understandable. That's the nature sometimes of open source and open collaboration. So we want to make sure that there's an open door for you to archive the subcommittee, just in case, let's say right now there's a pause on development, and then maybe we can pick it up again in 6 months or whatnot. So there's an option for that. Trying to minimize a bit of the pressure of maintaining one of these things. Then the governance, did Kim already walk everyone through this?
I don't remember. Or
Not yet.
maybe I may. Yeah.
Okay, well, the whole gist of this is to make sure that the subcommittees are being run at least in some similarity to this calls, and making sure that there's recurring meetings and there's progress and there's active engagement from the subcommittee members. So we do ask that there's meetings and there's recordings and that there's meeting minutes being taken. And that they're following the same communication channels as we are, so that everyone is up to date and you know where to find things. Nothing like, oh, you have to create a new Discord server, you have to create a new channel, nothing like that. We're going to keep everything on the same channels that we have. And we're trying to define the different roles for people. So let's say here we got a member. To become a member, all you have to do is just attend the meeting. And now you are also capable of helping us with the subcommittee. You have to, oh, sorry, I misspoke. It's not one meeting, it's at least 3 meetings. And then you become a member and you can help us with triaging issues on any of our GitHub repos. So we'll give you permission to do that. If you want to become a reviewer, you have first to need to become a member. You have to have a proven track record of helping on the work group. And you will be responsible for reviewing all the pull requests. Well, no, not all. It's a shared workload, but you could also help us with this. And then an approver, again, you have to be a reviewer for this, proven track of contributions again, and responsible for actually merging the pull requests. So one person can review. We're getting a request for a second person to actually be able to approve and merge. So a 2-step verification just to make sure that it's not single-sided. And as an approver, you can also accept new projects into the workgroup. And then the lead, it's responsible for mothering the workgroup and moving on with the agenda and all that. That's basically Kim and myself. And that's basically what we have going on here. It's not, we're trying to keep it simple, making sure that everyone has an opportunity to join us and to actively participate. So we're open for feedback, of course. And here's a list of the active participants. If your name is not here, you want to be part of the work group, please send a pull request, add yourself. And if there's any questions, we'll discuss it with you on the pull request. And that's pretty much this whole process. So if you're interested, please do so. It's really easy to send a pull request. You can just click here, edit, add your name. You don't need to clone the repo and all that. If you want to, please feel free to do so. But GitHub has really nice markdown capabilities on its web interface. All right. So having said that, there's some plans for immediate subcommittees that I already showed you. So if you want to support any of those, please let us know so that we can move on with plans for those. There's people that want to lead them. that don't feel like they have the expertise. So I encourage you to go and talk to your peers and see if there's any way we can help augment those efforts and help form a subcommittee. All we want to do here is just give you a platform and making sure that active development for aerial robotics in the ROS community is being kept alive, and you have a place where to actually work and collaborate. All right, that was a lot of me talking. Is there any questions? Anything you'd like to discuss? Yeah, go ahead, Alexis.
Thank you for all. I just have a question. Kim sent some emails where she
Mm-hmm.
was asking in the case that you wanted to join or lead to multiple subcommittees.
Mm-hmm.
So, is there an estimated time of any reply or response about it?
What was the question? Sorry.
Yeah, Kim sent some emails
Mm-hmm. Yep.
if you have a favorite subcommittees, and I don't know if we are gonna have a reply soon or something.
Well, I don't know what if we have like a deadline to choose.
Mm-hmm.
She was trying to measure who's interested in which subcommittees, sort of to. We don't just want to start any subcommittee if there's no actual traction behind them. Um, I don't have a timeline for that, but she's been really trying to get them off the ground. So my best guess is that as soon as we can find leads for those subcommittees and enough people interested to start them. So if we had them already, I think we would have already started them. So if you're interested, and you want to help us, please please do so.
For sure. Thank you.
Yep. Yeah, there's been a lot of emails back and forth. Kim is really trying to find people to help us lead some of these stuff, and we recognize there's a lot of interest here. So we just want to make sure that we do it as fast as possible to not delay it, and the leads go cold and people have other priorities. We'll make sure that we keep focused on this. All right. Well, I guess we have an open call for us. We have like almost 40 minutes, and we could be talking about a lot of things. I have a few ideas in mind, but before we do so, this is more of an open call now. Does anyone have any topics that you'd like to discuss? I do. Yep. Go ahead, Arsh.
I had a small question. Like, suppose
Mhm.
we contribute or we lead some team and we contribute in improving something that was not there. So, what about, like, it's gonna be the open source solution. So, what about the if some publications come out of at the end, like if there is some new simulation tool that we have developed, or some, I don't know, new tool for the indoor planning or outdoor planning.
Mhm.
So how you are planning to handle the publications and all those stuff? I don't know.
What do you mean by publication? Sorry.
Like if there is some new tool that someone is
Okay.
maybe Kim or
Let's.
you can present in ICRA
Uh,
or EROS.
uh-huh. Oh, like a paper or stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think so. For the work group as a whole, like I did actually, here's an example. Like what I did last year, what Kim and I did last year at ROSCON. We presented the landscape that we practically all of us worked on together. That's what you're asking about? Something like that? It's a good example. Or are you
Yes,
more talking
yes.
about a specific uh, conference where you're actually submitting a paper, and you're asking if people are of the subcommittees are going to get credited for that? Is that the question?
No, like in general, like Roscon talks, as you said.
Mhm. Yeah, I mean, we can all definitely apply for those, and
Hmm.
We encourage everyone to do so. Actually, in fact, we will love it if that happens.
Okay.
Yeah, honestly, you as a lead, you can we can only do so much. But let's say we apply for Roscon again, and me and Kim and I do another talk at Roscon. Maybe it's not going to be as effective as the first one. The wow factor starts going down a little bit, and if we keep repeating this, and if it's the same people, the message stops being as important, I guess. And if other people reinforce that message, giving similar talks on the topics, that helps everyone. So yes, please, if you have any ideas of a talk that you want to submit to any paper or any conference, and if you want us to help you review that, please feel free to send it our way.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. Yeah, welcome. We have another raised hand. I can't see. Oh, Khalid, sorry. Please go ahead.
Yeah. Good. In Egypt, it is in evening, so good evening and good
Good
afternoon.
evening.
Are in Europe. I just have a small question.
Mhm.
Currently, we're working on an in-house platform, introducing new technology in the flight controllers. Where I think at the end of the day, it will end up to be something like the PX4. So I think we are matching a lot with the standard drone R&D or research and development, I would say. The advantage of the platform that we're working on, it will be something like a better. We think that we will reach to a platform that will be better utilization. It will be better utilization for the capacity of the processing power and the memory and stuff like that.
Mhm.
Um, we want to see how this can be utilized either in should we is a contribution is only in an open source manner or how does it work and how things should be what kind of contributions we can add.
So for this ROS Aerial work group specifically, maybe you want to have a presentation on whatever product or service that you're offering that is going to, with the only requirement that it's actually helpful for the open source community. It doesn't need to be open source per se, as long as it's available for everyone to consume equally and you're not discriminating on anyone.
Of course not.
I think that is, I think, the requirement here. But if we are asking people to collaborate together as part of a subcommittee or the main work group, we do ask that the output of that work be made open source. Otherwise, other people are not going to want to help or contribute to your subcommittee.
Of course, makes sense. Actually, we don't mind of making it an open source, but at the end of the day, it is an in-house project, and the main objective of it is to be utilized in a business manner rather than somehow. And this is the main objective was the in-house project, I would say.
That makes sense. I mean, you're making hardware, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's hardware is really hard to do when it's open.
Yeah.
Believe me, I've tried.
We are actually introducing more software more than to be hardware. So our outcome will be a platform, a software platform, rather than to be and it is by the way, it is a common architecture and common platform that is being developed through different companies, not only us. But I'm just wondering how to contribute in such community when we have this case, I would say.
Well, if you have a closed hardware platform, my best advice to you would be to contribute to the open source communities by either creating content that teaches people how to use your platform by using open source,
Yeah,
or creating documentation, or submitting any useful examples or anything to the code base that will help them and help you at the same time.
yeah,
So it's help them to help you.
yeah. Of course. Yeah. we see about that, but we leave it as an open question so we can hear from you as well, from the ROS area administrators as well. I'm
Yep, I
looking
mean,
more from you.
if anyone on the call has any different answers or anything you want to add to this, please feel free to let us know.
One of the ways that we are planning to contribute as well is to make some presentation or to present our work, but when we get things to fly first. So once we get things to fly, we are planning to present our work to ROS community as well.
Well, once you got that going, send us an email and we'll get you scheduled on the meeting.
Yeah. You got it. And that's it, I think. That was my question.
You're welcome.
I see.
All right. Anyone else have any questions? All right. Rikin. Yep. Go ahead.
Hello. I am a very recent member to the meeting, so can I could you give me any pointers as to how to navigate through the community in itself? Because I find it very confusing to navigate around the community and try to understand the the subcommunities and the sub projects, and how exactly can we contribute. If there are any pointers I could look into. I know it's a very basic question, but I'm sorry, I'm not able to understand it.
Oh, it's okay. So in a sense, the work group as a whole, it's just one entity, it's just one group, it's just us, it's just this call. But what we're trying to do is, like, since there's a lot of different skill sets around the people here, and there's already ongoing development efforts that could be captured within this work group, what we're trying to do is give those groups a space so that they can continue developing on their own. So for example, we got two subcommittees, one for documentation, one for 3D other planning. They're a group within this group that has their own meetings and have their own development efforts. But anyone from this meeting can join them and help them if you want to. So there's a GitHub repo where you can find all of this information. It's this one. If you go to GitHub, ROS Aerial /community, you'll find all of this info. Let me put the link here. And in terms of how to contribute, like, we're already contributing just by participating on this call and just asking questions. What we try to do here is we try to have one meeting with like more open discussion like this one, and we'll try to have the next meeting, which is like a presentation by someone from the work group. I don't remember who we have on the 28th, I think is the next one. But we do have someone that is going to come in and give a talk, and we listen, we can ask questions, and we can contribute and collaborate together. Now, what we're trying to do here is to get the subcommittees to actually also like have their own meetings, have their own recordings, have meeting minutes, and then report back to us on this meeting and say, hey, any updates from the 3D out there planning, and just give us a quick, like, high-level overview. Not to repeat that same meeting they already had, just a quick overview, so that if you don't want to or don't have the time to actively participate on that subcommittee, you just want to have like a gist of what happens, you can come here and listen to that, or go to the repository and read that, because we want to get those things to be written down. And that's pretty much it. And then in terms of actually actively contributing to open source project, there's a bunch of different open source tools and projects here and there. Depending on your skill set, we can recommend quite a few options, and it all depends on how much time and effort you want to put into this. But to begin with, like I said, you're already contributing. This is the right way to do it. And yeah, thank you for being here. Oops. Hope I answered your question.
Yes. Yes. Thank you. And one last question. How do we join as members, and how does the process go? Do I have to mail somebody, or how does it go?
Yeah, so go to the community repo, add your name here. So if you read here, there's a requisite of having attended the last 3 work group meetings. Now, when you send your name to be listed here, we're going to review that change, and we're going to look at your name, and we're going to try to verify that you were already on the last 3 meetings. Now, the reality is that we're not a lot of people, so we mostly know who's joining the meetings. Send your pull request, we'll accept it, and then we'll give you some permissions to the repository, so you'll be able to help us, let's say, close issues, open issues, like these are different issues like this. And that's how we will give you permissions slowly, and then we'll continue to give you more as time moves on. Sorry. You start with trashing, and then you'll be able to review, and then you'll be able to merge pull requests, and that's the last level of permissions that you'll get. But it's all as you can participate. It's like a meritocracy where you participate, and we'll continue to give you more permissions.
Thank you. Thanks a lot.
All right, another raise hand.
I think, Ramon, you are in the email that I sent to Kim to introduce ourselves and our team. So I think if you logged into your email, I think you will find a brief of what we do and stuff like that.
Thank you. Yeah, most likely I already read that. I'll look at it again.
Yeah, thank you so much.
All right. Any other questions? There's one topic that I would like to discuss. All right, you can still ask me questions later, but I do have one topic that it's something that I've been interested in lately. Then the topic is a career in robotics. Quick survey without using the survey tool. Just quickly raise your hands or let me know. How many of you have been in robotics for more than 5 years? Okay, we got 2. And then, I mean, I'm raising my hand. I've been here a bit more. 3. Okay, that's good.
Autonomous driving included or not?
Sorry?
Autonomous driving included or not?
Autonomous driving, you said?
Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. Good.
Okay. The reason I'm asking is because, sorry, and it's 5 or more years, not just 5. Who's been here for less than 5 years? Not here in this meeting, but in general, as in robotics as a whole, any sector of robotics. I know it's like very broad. All right, it's most of us. All right, good. So the reason I'm asking is because I've been lately working with a lot of people within the community. I mean, that's been my job basically for the last 10 years, but I've been really interested in how to help developers build a career in robotics. And it's honestly not as straightforward. I mean, you can probably, you know this better than me. It's not as straightforward as I would love it to be or like it to be. And I feel like there's a lot of things that we could improve here. And why am I bringing this to Aerial Robotics meeting? It's because as developers of robotics, if we can't stick to the same topic for a longer period of time and focus on solving problems, we're likely going to bounce into another industry that has needs for similar skill sets. And robotics has a problem where the skill sets for robotics is too high, but it's also too broad. So if you start specializing in something, most likely you'll be able to fit in another industry, and we'll lose that talent forever. And that has happened again and again and again, especially as robotics has gone through different phases of maturity in the industry, where at first it wasn't as great to have a career here because there was no career to have, and now slowly has been building up to have companies that are very well funded that could afford to pay top dollars for robotics developers. And now we have the robotics developers that have been around for more than a decade, like myself. And now I see and look back and try to recreate what I did or what others did, and it's practically impossible because it was a collection of luck, because it was completely out of my hands, and collection of luck of other companies getting funded and then those products are building having a success, which wasn't really up to the product or the teams behind them. It's mostly about the industry and community and the market response to that. But now, finally, the industry is at a maturity level where that's no longer a concern per se. There's so many companies doing robotics now that finding a job in robotics shouldn't be that hard. But we're inheriting still a lot of the bad practices from the broad tech industry. And I'm realizing that we could, as a whole, as a group, try to help break that into best practices so that we can inform companies on how to best find the top talent that they're looking for. Right now, hiring feels like a randomized effort where you throw a bunch of resumes everywhere and then some stick, some don't. But there's no indication of why that is. Does this resonate with anyone? Does this, or is this just my experience? Which could be. Has anyone experienced anything similar? Or do you think that hiring and career-wise and robotics, it's all solved and there's nothing else to do? I want to hear some feedback on this. Like, if you want to raise your hand, just unmute your mic and let me know.
Yeah, I think there's something like that because one thing that when I place a pause to my graduate studies, I was trying to go into a robotics career, but that was not like really possible. The only option that I had for that it was related, it was offering education for robotics, and that was the only option that I had for some time, like a year and a half, more or less, for two years. So yeah, I think there's still bit so dependent on luck, but also in other things like um, know what is available for you, know what you could do. But yeah, it's still like, yeah, there's something. I know that there's something that is not like letting people to reach those roles yet.
Thank you, Alexis. I agree. There's something in there. I can't name it either. So that's what I'm trying to do here, just trying to talk to people, see if there's anything we can do. Go ahead, please, Ricken. Or
Yes, I would also say that even in my country, in India, it's
Mhm.
a very similar situation here where, and I just graduated recently and I wanted to focus on working on robotics or anything related to robotics. And it was extremely difficult for me personally to, find companies or anyone who would provide a career in robotics, any major companies with maybe enough monetary remuneration for sustenance. And it's very difficult to find companies who would hire just for core robotic concepts, and they would often go for something like on the artificial intelligence AI side of things, where they would talk about image processing and deep learning. That is what I've majorly seen. And a lot of the jobs, even for ROS, was specified for senior ROS developers, and very less companies would take in interns or someone who's starting as a ROS developer or any robotics related career per se. This was my personal experience when I was trying to get a career.
are you employed right now on the as a
I
roboticist
am
or in robotics?
I am luckily employed right now in a drone startup, and I work as a researcher for them. So I was lucky enough to get a very interesting job and an interesting project on the same as well. So I was one of the lucky ones, but a lot of different people find it difficult to get into robotics, and find different companies or different hiring in across different companies to join the workforce to enter robotics. And as even at a grassroots root level, let's say, right now, I think with the introduction of ROS 2, it is much easier to get into ROS in itself as a concept, as a middleware, as something that enables robots. Right now it's easier, but back when I started around 2019, the ROS1 documentation was a little bit hard, and even now has a very steep learning curve, as I'm observing my fellow interns who are trying to learn ROS also. There is a huge steep learning curve there, which also I think is a factor that a lot of companies are not you know looking into ROS as much as they're supposed to. This is just an opinion. I feel like this is what I felt personally, and yes, that's my opinion on this. Yeah.
Thank you. Very insightful, and it's very similar to what I've been hearing as well. It does feel like luck. Like you need tons of luck to get this done. Um, all right. Anyone else have any opinions, any experiences you'd like to share? Please go ahead.
Yeah, hi. This is Srijani. So my opinion or like my experience is kind of from the other side, as I tend to take a lot of interviews as well. I feel the problem, or what I observe is there are too many things going on in the robotic space, say whether it's related to localization, planning, or controls, or whatever it may be. And there may be a little bit of gap in understanding for a beginner, like what is a good point to start, or what how to navigate this maze of information, documentation, repositories that are already out there in the wild. So what I see as an interviewer is people putting all the keywords on their resume, saying that I know Slam, I know A star, I know nav2, I know this, I know that, but the basic concepts sometimes go missing because there's so much of things to navigate. So even like me myself a year back, I was like struggling to find out what is a good way to start, what should I approach first, what should I approach after that, and so on and so forth. So that is one problem that beginners can run into without proper guidance or mentorship. Like, how do I step up from basic knowledge to mid senior level knowledge to more, someone with a strong expertise in one of these core areas? That's one struggling point that I feel.
Thank you so much. And now you say you're also part of hiring committees now, so you're hiring, actively looking at resumes and looking at people to hire.
Yeah, I do that. Yeah, I do that often in my role.
All right. Yeah, that's a very important feedback. Thank you so much. Anyone else? Go ahead, please.
Yeah, I completely agree with Srijani. Like I recently wanted to hire an intern, and it was like first of all I was not receiving the candidate who has enough knowledge with ROS ecosystem, because the coursework was designed according to the theoretical stuff and all the control system and everything else. So after I found the candidates, like, so they all starts with turtle bots. They
Mhm.
And from the turtle bots, they will say like, there already exists some a repository for the navigation and for some algorithm for the turtle bot and everything. So they will just download the code, they will maybe tweak some parameters, and then they will say that, okay, I did slam, I did mapping, I did this, I did that with turtlebot on the resume. And yeah, it's just like they know how to manipulate the keywords in the resume. And when you take interview, when you give some small task to do, a live task maybe, So I have given like all the permission. You can use all the tools like ChatGPT or everything,
Mhm.
and still sometimes they fail to even like create a basic service thing.
So that interesting. And what I'm hearing here is that there's minimum requirement set of skills that it's expected already. And it would be probably interesting to know if that's the same for every company, sort of, to, or at least similar to different companies, so that we could perhaps have a guideline for beginners that says, hey, you
Yeah,
want to join robotics?
yeah,
Here's the top 5 things that we think you should know.
yeah.
And
That can be better.
thank you. Then I also heard from both of you something that's really interesting. Like, you're not expecting them to be an expert, but at least have tried things and know how to start things and have a way to solve the problem, right?
Yeah.
Is that true, or did I misread you?
No, no, that's perfectly true. Like at least they, in the beginning, they should at least go through the basic examples. Like instead of copy pasting the example from the ROS
Hmm?
tutorial, maybe they should try changing it a bit and writing by themselves so they can get more practice with the code. And I know, like in this world of ChatGPT and all other chatbots, you can just ask them to write some code, but at the end, you also need to know how to debug the code given by the chatbot.
Yeah, and understand what's going on for sure.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. Anyone else have anything to share on this topic?
For me, it is more like you don't need to know all of it. You don't need to know slam. Don't need to know localization and navigation and control and UAVs and ground robots. But whatever is it that you have worked on, whether as an intern or as in your college project, you should be able to speak to that in greatest of detail. But that is what I find missing in like beginners or new joinees, because they want to show that they're so interested in robotics. They have done projects across the entire thing, but that foundational understanding is what I find missing. I'm especially talking about like new joinees or like interns or
Mhm.
something.
No, it's important because that's a majority of people. If you just by the brief sample of people we have here, there's not a lot have been here for more than 5 years, and if we probably ask who's been here for less than a year or a year, we have even more hands. And it's the same. It's true if you go to a conference. Um, if you ask people to raise their hands, they've been in the industry for a year or less, more likely than not, more than half of them are going to raise their hands. And the reality is that there's no easy way for them to remain in the industry to be able to build a career. So we can't really be talking about building a career for people that have been here for a decade when the people that are just joining can't find a way to stay here long enough to build a career in robotics. So it all starts from the beginning, and it definitely starts in schools, and it starts at home by playing around with examples and making sure that you have the basic principles in check. That's my feedback, but that's practically what I'm hearing from all of you as well, which is very comforting to know that I'm not crazy. Anyone else have any thoughts? Any different career paths? If you started by a non-traditional uh, path to get here to robotics, please let us know. For example, I can share. I'm not a software engineer by trade. I didn't go to school for robotics. I went to school for the graphic design a long time ago. Started in this industry by chance, and I've been here for more than a decade. But it's all about the perseverance and passion that you have to do things, and a lot of luck. So, yeah. Anyone else have any non-traditional backgrounds here and want to share their story? briefly?
Not a story, but I would like to know like how you came from like graphic design to the robotics.
Oh, how I did it?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So I used to work in the cloud, and the founder of 3D Robotics, a company that used to build drones in California, was from my hometown, and he needed help with his store, web store, and he hired me to help him with that. And while working on that, I was in the same office and same people that are building the drones, and I liked robotics since I was a kid. So that was really cool for me. And I just started working with them. And then one thing led to another. And here I am. So what I actually really, really solidified my career in robotics was that back then there were no fancy APIs. Like ROS 1 was a thing on the side. There was, I mean, a lot of ROS developers, of course. But the on drones specifically, we're using Pilot, and I didn't like the interfaces and the APIs that we had back then. Coming from the web, I was used to having really nice APIs and really nice documentation stuff, recommended packages, and of course, the maturity of the industry on the cloud was way leagues ahead of what is happening on robotics, and I didn't really know about it back then. I thought robotics was a very well established thing, but I realized there were really basic stuff like a basic API to control things with Python. So I put together a team and we built a library called DroneKit. It's called DroneKit. Oh, sorry. And it was the first tool to be able to do really easy manipulation of vehicles. What really made it cool is that you could just connect to a vehicle and do vehicle.goto. Where's an example? Here we go. Just like very basic one. There's it. Here we go. Simple goto. 7 years ago. It's been a long time. But like just arm and take off with the function. And this looks very simple now, but back then, just having an API that made it so that you didn't need to guess what you needed to do, and it was um, a simple interface that helped us a lot. And it's based on MapLink and all that, and it's still alive. You can still use it for autopilot, but basically bringing the concepts from the cloud, from a good Python package into the drone industry. That's what I did and how I started working on the industry.
Okay, thank you.
Yep, you're welcome.
Yeah, even I am not a core software guy. I'm core mechanical guy who knows the software.
And like I most of the maintainers that I know for top software projects are also from non-traditional backgrounds. So it's very rarely that we find the maintainer of an open source project that is actually has a computer science degree. Anyone else before we move on? All right. Well, just want to let you know I'm. Is that a raise hand? What was that? Yep. Go ahead, Alexis.
Yeah, well, um, I was trying to remember when I was first getting into this, and one thing that really helped me a lot is to understand how ROS was handling things. I know that there was a previous way to do it, like almost everyone had like in-house solutions, and it really was making it difficult for many of the beginners because they had to really rely too much on theoretical stuff and to understand as well on the code style that people or the architecture itself how they were doing it for these in-house solutions. So I think, and one of the reasons that I I joined, well, I'm trying to join to content and tutorials subcommittee, is to make things easier for beginners and probably preserve or enhance that feeling, like for a new beginner, that that they will that those tools, that documentation, that's gonna help them, and it probably is gonna also help them to guide their careers, because like Shirani said, everyone is trying to do a lot of stuff, and if they know a lot of stuff, probably they don't are not knowing it in depth. So, and that's mostly because those buzzwords that we can find on resumes, those buzzwords that we can find on internet, and probably if they have enough exposure to that topic, they may realize, well, I don't want to get too much in this, but I would like to go rather through this one. Probably they can, it can come from that documentation, that knowledge, that exposure, and without like too much effort to understand. Like you have it here, tweak it as much as you need, tweak it, contribute back if you can, and that kind of stuff. Probably may help them a bit.
Yeah, definitely. So you touch on different things here. I think one thing that would be really helpful is if there was like a boilerplate how to start services, how to start a node, or things like that written in ROS, because everyone does it differently or has different ways to approach things. And as a beginner, you might not know what's the best. You might be copying something you read online, and you end up going, when you're a beginner, you end up going with whatever actually worked, because you could copy paste several things, but you may not be able to run it. And whatever actually runs for your specific setup or environment is what you end up going with. And most likely than not, you might find a good example, but it doesn't match your development environment. But you don't, as a beginner, you don't realize that that's the problem. It's not the code that you're reading, it's the environment that, like, maybe you don't have a library installed, or different mismatch on a library, and you're not able to recognize those things. And that sometimes is a roadblock for you. So helping on that regard will really help beginners. We have one last raise hand before I close the
Yeah,
Q&A. Yep,
sorry,
go ahead.
sorry for the late input. So
No, that's
last
okay.
year, last year around, I don't think April or May, the ROS, the ROS open group. I don't know the name. The
Yep.
I forgot the name of hers. So she started. She wanted to start a sandbox community, if you remember. So they were supposed to answer these all questions about the educating the people and how to make good tools for the education and everything, to how to make coursework for the ROS. So there were a couple of meetings on this, and after that everything got collapsed. I don't know the reason. So maybe they will restart sometime at
Yeah,
some point.
it's a tough challenge. And
Yeah,
it's also an ongoing effort. It's not like we can publish a guideline today. It's like, oh, okay, let's take
yeah.
everything that we discussed today, let's publish it. In
So
a year, this is going to be outdated. So we have to keep it up to date, helping people. And it's a collection of things. It's not just documentation or code. It's also encouraging content creators to create more video tutorials, more podcast interviews, more of everything, and keep that going. But it
yeah,
starts
exactly.
with discussions like this, so that people realize that, hey, we all went through the same problems as you did, and we know it's hard, and that people also need to understand that the people on the other side of the hiring end also went through that same issues and are willing to help you, but you also have to put in the work to be able to meet them halfway.
Yeah,
And I think that's a stronger message here. So quickly, the reason I'm talking about all of this is because I'm interested in seeing how we can help inform aerial roboticists and how to get started a little bit better, and inform the documentation subcommittee, and then see if we can help the overall overarching ROS community in how to address this. This is a thing that affects everyone. But if we really want to solidify this industry, we really want to take care of the beginners in the industry so that we can continue to grow together. It's to no one's benefit if we're the only 5 people that know how to do robotics. The industry is gonna slowly die if that's the case when we move on. So yeah, all right. So that was my topic for today. We have run out of time, but I want to thank you for sticking here today with me, and I hope that I get to talk to you on the next meeting. Hopefully Kim is back as well, and I'm gonna share this recording with her. We're gonna post all of this to the same usual channels. Thank you again so much, and keep doing what you're doing. You're amazing.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Goodbye.
Bye.
Goodbye. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys. Cheers.
Stop presenting. Stop the recording.